Hi, I'm Catherine from Uniconsult-Wick Unternehmensberatung, and our mission is to help you expand successfully into Asia. Today, I would like to take a short look at the changes to the registration regulations for overseas food manufacturers, which are coming into effect in 2022 for China. So these regulations will be valid from the 1st of January 2022. And compared to the 4 years that they were valid up until now, they will now have a validity of 5 years. So the legal basis for this are two decrees, 248 and 249, which at the moment are only available in Chinese. The 248 is the new version of the registration and management rules of overseas manufacturers of imported food. And 249 is a new version of the administrative rules for food safety. So that's kind of supporting regulation. And that one replaces 6 other regulations. So it kind of consolidates all of them into one regulation to make it a little bit clearer for people to work out what they're supposed to be doing. The main new change, though, is that in future, all overseas food manufacturers need to be registered with the GACC, that's the General Administration of Customs China, in order to be able to export to China. So that's every factory needs to be registered. Up until now, basically, it was only 4 categories of foods that needed to have this kind of a registration. It was meat and meat products, dairy, including infant formula, aquatic products, so anything fishy, and bird's nest. So in the future, there will be 2 processes for this kind of application, depending on what China perceives as the risk or the hygiene potential for problems with the product group that you are producing. So the first option is that via the recommendation of the local competent authorities. So for example, that could be the local veterinary authorities or the local Ministry of Health, depending on the product that you have. And the second option is that a manufacturer or their entrusted agent can register directly with the China customs. And realistically speaking, probably you would need an agent to help navigate the regulations on this. So which product groups need this kind of local authority, more complicated recommendation to register? All of the ones I've listed here, so you can see it's everything that's related to animal kind of products, dairy products, and also anything that could be slightly related to sensitive consumer groups, or which is a little bit difficult with the hygiene in the process of production. What you should be aware of is that you need to expect that at some point in time, the China Customs will want to audit your production facilities. Now, this new regulation gives additional flexibility compared to the past. In the past, it was only an in-person audit that China would consider. However, this new process actually allows for the possibility of written documentation audits. It allows for video audits, and of course, it also allows for the traditional on-site in-person audit by a team of more than 2 people. But what's also good is that it also allows for a kind of hybrid, which I expect for the beginning, they will use a mix of written audit, so additional documentation combined with a video tour of the factory and certain sensitive points of risk in your production process. So all of these are possible. A lot will depend, obviously, on the travel regulations and how China wants to open their borders for their own people to go in and out after the pandemic. So if you're having to have this more complicated local authority recommendation, which in the past was really only possible with an in-person audit by the authorities, and that doesn't happen every second day, let's say. First of all, you need a recommendation letter from the authorities. The authorities have to supply a list of all of the manufacturing facilities that they're applying for, and also, of course, include your application forms. Then a copy of your business license to prove that you are allowed to produce whatever it is that you produce. There needs to be a signed statement from the manufacturer, which is countersigned by the local competent authorities. So, for example, veterinary authorities or whoever issues the business license, that the manufacturer is able and guarantees that they will meet the Chinese regulations in terms of food safety, in terms of process, and in terms of food standards. Audit reports from the local authority on their visits to your production facilities are needed. And it could be that they request additional documentation about food safety, hygiene, and your GMP procedures. So that could be a floor plan of the factory, it could be floor plan of your cold storage facilities, it could be your HACCP certification. Maybe it could be an idea for you to consider getting the Chinese version of that, because I'm sure that they would prefer to see the Chinese version rather than the European version. But at the moment, these are all just assumptions and suggestions. Nothing is cast in stone. And of course, your process flowcharts and your procedures. If you belong to a product group that can register directly or using an agent, the process is much easier. So, for example, if you're producing some kind of soft drinks, or if you're a chocolate manufacturer, then the documents could include, for example, just the application form, a copy of your business license to confirm your identity, and your signed statement that you guarantee that you will comply with the requirements of all of these regulations. So the approval process, you can see it here. Basically, you apply to the authorities, they check your documents, probably they would come back to you and request corrections or additional materials. However, if you were able to get it right the first time, then you get acceptance, the dossier of documents will be reviewed, it might be subject to a spot review, and then a final review and decision that will lead to notification and announcement in the online bulletin of the China Customs. That would be the ideal process. However, of course, there are feedback loops built into there for you to correct your documentation. So if something is missing first time round, or if there's not enough detail included, then be sure that the authorities will come back to you and ask for more information. So just to sum all of that up, in future, all overseas food manufacturers need to register for China. The method that you need to use to register depends on the perceived level of risk and what product group you're producing. You need to expect to be audited in some way and shape or form during the lifespan of your registration certificate, although it might not be right at the beginning for certain product groups. You, as a manufacturer, have the responsibility for ensuring legal conformity of your products. Your importer also needs to check that you have the right registration finished. So they have to, on their application for the import license for your products, they're obliged in future to make sure that they have your manufacturing export license approval number for China. And because, as you can imagine, this is such a huge project for China, then I would expect that a transition period will be defined for this, although I haven't seen anything concrete yet. So, of course, they're bound to be prioritizing those people who need to renew their registrations or who have more sensitive product groups, but it's not cast in stone and there's no further information available as yet. So if you would like further assistance on this, more detailed information, please reach out to us and we would be glad to assist. For example, we can assist you with finding a suitable agent who can support you with the registration process in the market, or who can also guide you through preparing all of the documentation to submit to the authorities. We would also recommend that you contact your local authorities, as they will have the latest versions and may also have additional translations of the full text of the law as it affects this process.